Lacrima, Mortis, a work of experimental literature by Valerie Lynn Stevens. Part 19. Before I became human, I was a poet. I would swim the streets at night, scavenging for treasure in those places most low, which some call home, reaching enrichment only after I had exchanged all that I had to give. But however noble the role of poet may seem, it was no true vow of poverty, but the feigned destitution of a creature for whom all was rich, beyond measure. The thunder, the rains, lightning through the veins. I was a poet, one of an elite classification of species whose sole utility was in speaking for those who remained, despite their stoic efforts, at a loss for words. Thus, in essence, is the poet an interpreter of the wind, a keeper of the elusive yet essential, the soothing sayer of an oral medium through which the cryptic codes of the mute and the metaphysical, the ill-named tautological, can be evenly deciphered. Although the poet, of course, remains misunderstood, for despite all attempts to declare our citizenship with humanity wherever we went, we still were intractably, inalterably, alienly generous, self-sufficiently solitary animals, native to an infinity of habitats and inner mindscapes. We are a breed highly adaptable to any climate, subsisting on whatever flora, fauna, water, wind, and experience we can gather from the throngs of every possible neck of the woods. We are the one creature as endangered as we are highly evolved. But, despite the romanticization of the poet and our oft-imagined exaltation above it, we remain equally, if not more so, entrenched within this human condition of existential dissonance and quandary. The poet is all, as all becomes of the poet. And thus are we often cast as demigod, demon, or lunatic, crowned as we are presumed to be within the glory and subtly forging omniscience of skillfully assembled gestants, then formulated into the current lingua franca of assorted adjective, superlative, and other assorted verbiage. As a poet, I became all things to so many, even to myself, in defense. And as words meandered mellifluously from my tongue, the thought that they would someday greet their beatification upon entrance into the desecrated temples of countless and nameless swooning, hungry hearts filled me with a kind of dreadful anticipation. For the wordsmith, our curse lay in the encumbrances of those overzealous idolaters who teemed and seethed with such militant idealism, and who, in the act of shouting out our legacy from the rooftops of many college dormitories, conservatories, coffee shops, and other assorted institutes of enlightenment and bohemia everywhere, murdered the very essence of the poet's true and original intent. Nevertheless, the poet is christened from birth, an unorthodox martyr of societies, both secular and sacred, and we must be willing to undergo all forms of extremity, both maudlin and morbid, to fulfill our duties. For we especially are attuned to the truth that all beings divine must first make that Hadesian descent. And perhaps it is also for this reason that the poet must spend only the first quarter or so of their life as a poet. For although the poet may get to live two separate lives in one lifetime, that of poet and that of human, they cannot ever, and in good conscience, be fully both. For all throughout history, So many of the great poets, wanting to maintain equal devotion and fervor to and for the causes of both worlds, only met their untimely, ignominious demise. And although the poet is hired to best speak for humanity, they cannot ever truly and fully join in it. Thus it came to be that eventually my words evanesced to the atmosphere, and at my very last verbose breath, I knew that the time had come. The time had come to save myself from the imminent and the inevitable loss of ecumenical sanctification, and from any further ablation, isolation, and world weariness. Yes, it was time. It was time to become more and more fully human. For those of our kind are born divine. We are of this world, but not of it. It was time to pass my poetic licensure and legacy on to someone else who perhaps had better discovered the art of how not only to live and die as a poet, but how to thrive as one.